Silence doesn't mean you're doing nothing. It means you're doing everything that matters without distraction. Most people are loud about things they haven't earned. They talk too much, share too much, and waste too much energy trying to be seen. But the ones who win long term, they're focused, they're silent. They let their habits speak. If you really want to get ahead, you need to stop telling everyone your next move and start working on it, without noise, without drama, without needing attention. This video is about learning how to make your silence powerful, how to protect your energy, and how to let the right things flow to you by becoming someone who doesn't need to chase. When you stop explaining and start executing, your whole life changes. You'll think clearer, move smarter, and feel stronger. If you're ready to stop wasting time and start living with purpose, this is the moment. Stay until the end. It's time to rebuild your life in silence. Chapter 1. Shut your mouth and do what really matters. That's one of the best pieces of advice I could ever give you. And it's not because silence is magical or mysterious. It's because silence gives you the space to build something real. The truth is, most people talk too much. They talk about what they're going to do. They talk about what they feel like doing. They talk about what others should be doing. But very few people are doing anything that truly matters. And I'll tell you this, those who are out there doing the real work, building a life they're proud of, they don't have time to talk about it all day. They're focused, they're quiet, they're moving. You have to ask yourself, what's more important, talking about a dream or building one? What's more powerful, telling people about your goals or achieving them in silence and letting your results speak louder than any words ever could? When you get quiet, something shifts. You begin to see your habits clearly. You begin to feel how much time you've wasted, talking, scrolling, thinking about things that don't help your growth. And when you finally stop explaining yourself, when you stop announcing every move, that's when you get serious. That's when your life starts to change. You don't need anyone's approval to work on yourself. You don't need to make a big announcement every time you decide to improve something. You don't need to defend your choices. You just need to get to work. Because when you're doing what really matters, the work itself is enough. The work becomes the reward. And I'll tell you this from experience, most people who talk too much are trying to convince others of something they haven't convinced themselves of yet. They're trying to sound confident, when deep down, they haven't built the discipline to live the life they're preaching about. So they talk, and talk, and talk. But nothing changes. The key is to reverse that. Be the one who doesn't say much. Be the one who's up early, who's focused, who's doing the work when no one is watching. Be the one who keeps promises to themselves. Not because it looks good, not because it sounds good, but because it means something to you. It's real. The more you stay silent, the more you'll notice how much noise is out there. You'll start to feel the difference between people who are actually working and those who are just pretending. The ones who are constantly online, always explaining themselves, always looking for attention, they're the ones falling behind. But the quiet ones, they're building, they're learning, they're improving, and before anyone notices, they're ahead. That's how it works. You want people to respect you. Stop talking. Start building. You want people to listen to you one day. First, listen to yourself. Get your mind right. Get your habits in place. Get your body and energy working for you, not against you. Because respect doesn't come from noise. It comes from results. Doing what really matters requires courage. Because you'll have to ignore a lot of things that used to distract you. You'll have to stop checking in on people who aren't checking in on themselves. You'll have to stop sharing plans with people who don't have any of their own. You'll have to let go of the need to be understood and start focusing on becoming someone who understands themselves. Now, this doesn't mean you never speak. It means when you speak, your words are backed by something solid, something real, your habits, your effort, your growth. And when your words match your actions, people listen because they know you're living it. They know you've done the work. They know you're not just throwing around ideas, you're practicing what you say. But it all starts with silence. Not the silence of hiding, but the silence of intention. The kind of silence that creates space for you to grow. The kind of silence that helps you hear your own thoughts. The kind of silence that forces you to be honest with yourself. Because the truth is, silence exposes what needs work. It shows you where the holes are, where you've been pretending, where you've been avoiding. And once you see it, you can do something about it. That's why being silent isn't weakness. It's strength. Because silence takes control. It takes restraint. Anyone can react. Anyone can complain. Anyone can post something online. But it takes a strong person to say, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to show you through what I build, through how I live, through the results I create. And that kind of mindset, that's when everything starts to flow. Not because you forced it, not because you made noise, but because you aligned yourself with what matters, with what's real. You showed discipline. You made small improvements daily. You kept your mouth shut and your focus sharp. Start where you are. Look at your life. Are you doing what really matters today? Not what sounds good. Not what looks good. What actually moves your life forward. What builds your future. What protects your peace. What creates real progress. If the answer is no, then start now. Get quiet. Cancel the distractions. Write down what matters. Make a schedule. Follow it. Don't tell anyone what you're doing. Just do it. And keep doing it. One day at a time. You'll be amazed how far you get when you stop needing to explain every step. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be seen to be growing. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You just need to build something that speaks for itself. People will notice. Eventually. Not because you asked them to, but because they can feel the difference. Your energy changes. Your presence feels stronger. Your actions start to speak for you. And that's when you know you've become someone they can't ignore. Not because you were loud, but because you were real. So shut your mouth and do what really matters. Your life depends on it. Your peace depends on it. And your future is waiting for it. Don't delay. Don't wait for permission. Start now. Be silent and let the work do the talking. Chapter 2. Stop talking so much and fix your daily habits. If your days are out of order, your life will stay out of order. If your habits are weak, no amount of motivation will fix that. You can talk for hours about what you want to become, what you're trying to achieve, or where you see yourself 5 years from now, but none of that matters if your daily routine is full of waste. You don't need more conversations about your potential. You need a schedule. You need structure. You need to decide, right now, what kind of person you're going to be, and then prove it with your actions every single day. One of the biggest traps people fall into is talking too much about change and doing too little to create it. You'll find people who know exactly what they should be doing, and they can describe it better than anyone. They'll tell you how early they plan to wake up, what kind of books they're going to read, what diet they're going to follow, what goals they've written down. But go into their life and look closely. They're still sleeping late. They're still distracted. They're still procrastinating. And all that talk hasn't moved them an inch. You don't need more opinions. You don't need more promises. What you need is discipline. And discipline doesn't come from words. It comes from action. It comes from creating habits that you don't break. It comes from doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Change happens when you stop announcing every little decision and start locking in on your daily routine. When your mornings are messy, your focus is scattered. When your nights have no structure, your sleep gets weak. And if your energy is low, your discipline suffers. It all connects. You can't expect everything in your life to flow smoothly when your days are built on chaos. Ask yourself what your typical day looks like. Not what you hope it looks like. What it actually looks like. What time do you wake up? What do you do first? How do you use the first hour of your morning? Are you reacting to your phone, to social media, to noise? Or are you sitting down with purpose, planning, learning, stretching your mind? Your life is a reflection of the habits you repeat. If you're not where you want to be, check what you're doing every single day. Not once in a while. Not when you feel like it. Daily. That's where change starts. It's not about getting everything perfect. It's about getting real. Real habits. Real structure, real improvement. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to post about your routine. You don't need to explain why you're focusing on yourself. You just need to do it. When you fix your habits, you fix your future. You begin to build trust with yourself. You stop feeling guilty at the end of the day because you actually did what you said you'd do. Most people are busy pretending they're doing the work, but pretending won't get you results. Pretending won't give you peace of mind. Pretending won't create momentum. You need to earn it through consistency. And that starts when you shut down all the talk and build better habits. Talking too much drains your energy. It tricks your brain into thinking you've made progress just because you said something out loud. But progress isn't made with words, it's made with repeated action. You don't have to tell people you're improving. Let your discipline show them, let your growth speak for itself. Fixing your daily habits isn't a one-time decision, it's a lifestyle. You decide what matters. You build around that. You remove what wastes your time. You eliminate excuses. You stop lying to yourself about how busy you are and start being honest about how much time you're throwing away. If you want more time, stop wasting it. Start setting your alarm earlier. Start preparing your meals. Start writing down your goals at night and reviewing them in the morning. Cut the noise. Cut the laziness. Cut the distractions that do nothing for you. Because time is not going to wait. And if you keep talking about your life instead of living it, you'll lose more than just time. You'll lose the chance to become who you were meant to be. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be consistent. Show up every day. Get organized. Build small wins. Make your habits so strong that they carry you through the hard days, because there will be hard days. But if your routine is solid, you won't fall apart when life gets tough. You build that strength through repetition. You train your mind. You create systems. You decide when to work, when to rest, when to reflect. You don't hope for change. You don't talk about change. You create change with every decision you make during your day. Nobody needs to hear about your new plan. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Quiet your life. Focus your attention. Strengthen your daily actions. That's where power is. That's where peace is. That's how you turn dreams into results. Not through talk, through patterns, through daily wins, through showing up. The difference between people who make progress and those who don't is very simple. One group is building, the other is talking. One group is working when no one sees them. The other is still trying to look productive. Don't fall into that trap. Don't become someone who's always explaining but never executing. Start today. Cut down your words. Track your habits. Notice the hours you're wasting. Replace them. Build new routines. Wake up at a time that gives you control over your day. Move your body. Feed your mind. Work on one thing at a time. Finish tasks. Stop starting and quitting. Stick to your system even when motivation fades. That's how you build something real. Silence isn't just about keeping your mouth shut. It's about turning your energy inward. It's about taking all that talk and converting it into effort, into results, into something that matters. When your habits are solid, life starts to feel lighter. You don't need to chase opportunities. You don't need to beg for support. You become the type of person who attracts the right things because you're living with purpose. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The only thing you need is to look at your life and ask, am I proud of how I live each day? If the answer is no, fix it. Don't wait. Don't explain. Just fix it. Piece by piece. Step by step. One powerful habit at a time. People will notice eventually, but by the time they do, you won't care about their attention. You'll care about your peace, about your progress, about your discipline. That's the reward. A quiet, strong, focused life built on truth and habit, not noise and words. So stop talking so much. Fix your daily habits, and watch your life begin to flow with clarity, strength, and purpose. Chapter 3. Pay attention to your life, not their opinions. This one choice will save your time, protect your focus, and unlock more peace than you've ever known. Too many people live by what others think. They adjust their actions based on other people's voices. They dress for approval. They speak for applause. They chase praise instead of chasing purpose. And at the end of the day, they feel empty. Why? Because they never lived for themselves. They lived under the pressure of opinions that didn't build anything for them. And those opinions? They came from people who are still trying to figure out their own lives. That's the trap. Taking direction from people who don't even know where they're going. When you give weight to every opinion around you, you lose the ability to hear your own voice. You stop trusting yourself. You second-guess every move. You delay your goals to fit someone else's comfort zone. You avoid risks just to avoid judgment. And slowly your life becomes smaller. You start to shrink your potential just to avoid criticism. That's not living. That's permission seeking. And no one is going to hand you the permission to live your truth. You have to claim it. Your life is your responsibility. No one else wakes up in your body. No one else feels your frustration. No one else carries your dreams. So why let them have a say in how you move? People will always have opinions, but not all opinions matter. Most of them are noise, and if you pay attention to noise, you'll miss the real message, your own. Every time you care more about what they think than what you know you need to do, you're giving up a piece of your future. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing growth. You don't need applause to make a change. If you keep waiting for support before starting, you'll be waiting forever. Sometimes the only support you'll have is your own belief. And that's enough. Because it's not the opinions of others that shape your life. It's the actions you repeat, the choices you make, the mindset you carry when no one is clapping. You don't have to argue with anyone. You don't have to prove anyone wrong. You just have to stop looking outward for answers. You have to turn inward and ask, what do I want? What matters to me? What makes me feel alive, even if no one understands it right now? Because once you know that, you can start building a life that's real. And when your life is real, opinions lose their power. They become background noise. Some of the most successful people you'll ever study were misunderstood in the beginning. They were judged, doubted, even mocked. But they didn't fold. They didn't adjust their vision to fit in. They didn't stop because someone didn't get it. They moved forward anyway. That's what separates people who grow from those who stay stuck. The ability to stay focused even when people don't agree. Not everyone will see your progress. Not everyone will understand your choices. But that's fine. They don't need to. The point isn't to get approval. The point is to build a life you don't have to escape from. One that gives you peace. One that reflects your values, not their expectations. And that life only comes when you stop performing for others. It's easy to fall into the trap of living for validation. Social media trains people to care more about being seen than being disciplined. But discipline isn't loud. Growth isn't always visible. A lot of it happens when no one's watching. In quiet spaces. In uncomfortable moments. When you're tired, but you still show up. When you're doubted, but you keep going. That's when it happens. And here's something to remember. Most of the time, people are not thinking about you as much as you believe. They're too focused on their own lives, their own struggles, their own thoughts. So when you waste energy worrying about their judgment, you're doing it for no reason. You're slowing down for people who aren't even paying attention. That energy could be used to build, to learn, to sharpen, to grow. There's power in staying quiet and focused. There's strength in knowing what matters, and blocking out what doesn't. If someone doesn't support you, that's fine. If they don't understand you, that's fine. If they judge you, that's their problem, not yours. Your job is to stay committed to your values. Your job is to keep improving, even if no one is clapping. Because one day, the results will speak. And by then, the opinions that used to bother you won't matter anymore. Live with purpose. Move with intention. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't live your reality. They don't know what you've been through. They don't know how hard you've worked to keep going. And even if you told them, they still might not get it. That's okay. Growth isn't about convincing others. It's about transforming yourself. You get one life. One shot to build something you're proud of. Don't waste it trying to look right for people who won't even remember the conversation next week. Build a daily routine that works for you. Take actions that align with your goals. Make decisions that bring you closer to the future you want. Not because someone approved of it, but because you know deep down it's right for you. Protect your focus. Guard your time. Trust your voice. You've got something worth building, but it starts when you stop trying to be understood and start trying to be disciplined. Talk less about what you're doing and do more of it. Get stronger, get smarter, get sharper, and do it quietly. You don't need a crowd, you need consistency. When people see your life changing, they'll ask how you did it. And you won't need to say much, because your habits will speak for you. Your energy will show the difference. Your mindset will feel different. You'll walk differently, and by then, you won't be interested in approval. You'll be focused on becoming even better. So pay attention to your life. Stay in your lane. Keep your eyes on what you're building, and stop letting the opinions of others decide your direction. This is your time. Use it well. Build a life that reflects who you are, not what they think. You'll thank yourself for it later. Chapter 4. Keep your thoughts private and protect your growth. Keep your thoughts private and protect your growth. That's not just a suggestion, it's a necessity if you're serious about building a strong, disciplined and focused life. Every time you speak too early about what you're planning or dreaming about, you invite distraction and resistance. When you share your thoughts with people who haven't earned your trust, you give them room to influence or interrupt something that should have stayed between you and your discipline. Growth needs protection. It doesn't survive well in noisy, exposed places. It requires space, privacy, and consistency. Most people sabotage their progress by talking too much, too soon. They speak about their goals before they've taken the first real step. They share personal insights and inner changes with people who don't respect their seriousness. And when those people respond with doubt, judgment, or even sarcasm, it weakens the mindset. Suddenly, you're second-guessing something that was once clear. Not because it stopped making sense, but because you invited unnecessary opinions into a space that should have stayed quiet. If something matters deeply to you, you don't need to explain it. You need to build it. You need to work on it in silence until it becomes strong enough to support itself. When you keep your thoughts private, you create room for focus. You reduce distractions. You build momentum without outside noise. And that matters because nothing kills progress faster than too much exposure. People don't need to know what you're thinking. They don't need to understand your plan. They don't even need to agree with your mindset. What they think is none of your responsibility. Growth is personal. It's not supposed to be shared with everyone. Some thoughts are meant to stay inside until they've been tested through action. You don't need to give people a play-by-play of your life. Most of them aren't listening to help anyway. They're listening out of curiosity, judgment, or comparison. They don't understand how much effort goes into changing yourself from the inside out. They don't know what it costs to fight your bad habits every day. So why would you hand them access to something they can't value? When you start improving, when you begin thinking at a higher level, you'll notice how rare clarity is. You'll see how quickly people question anything unfamiliar. That's why your growth needs silence. You can't afford to let your early ideas be picked apart before they've matured. You have to keep them to yourself and let the work do the talking. Not everything you feel needs to be said. Not every plan you create needs to be shared. That doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you're protecting something important. You're preserving your energy for action. You're keeping your vision safe from being diluted by noise, questions, or doubt. There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow privately. In fact, it's one of the smartest things you can do. Keeping your thoughts to yourself gives you power. It gives you control over your emotions. It helps you stay balanced. It makes you less reactive, and when you're less reactive, you're more focused. When you're more focused, you make better decisions, and those decisions move you forward. It's a chain. It all connects. You don't need the world to clap for your thoughts. You need your habits to align with your mindset. If your inner world is solid, you'll build something strong on the outside. But if you keep exposing every thought before it's ready, you risk weakening your direction. There's a difference between isolation and discipline. One leads to confusion, the other leads to clarity. And clarity is what you need if you want to stay consistent. The more silent you become about your plans, the more energy you'll have to actually execute them. Talking drains you. Explaining drains you. Defending drains you. But quiet work builds you. Every hour you spend building in silence is one more hour closer to peace. One more hour closer to progress. You don't owe anyone your thoughts. You don't need to give updates on your journey. Most people won't even remember what you told them. What they remember is what you show them. What they can see in your consistency, your presence, your discipline, your results. And when you reach that point, There's nothing left to prove. You become the proof. Private thoughts grow stronger because they stay clean. They're not infected by outside doubt. They're not shaped by the world's pressure. They stay yours. And because they stay yours, you can act on them without hesitation. That freedom, acting without needing approval, that's real strength. That's where growth takes off. Every time you keep a thought to yourself, you're building a deeper relationship with your mind. You're telling yourself, I trust you. I trust this idea. I trust this process. You're not looking for validation. You're not asking for feedback. You're doing the work. Quietly, patiently, day by day. That's how confidence is built. Not through talk, through self-trust, through quiet action, through living by your own values, even when no one sees you, even when no one claps. That kind of strength doesn't come from being loud. It comes from discipline. It comes from silence. It comes from doing what needs to be done and letting the results speak when the time is right. There's a certain peace that comes from knowing what you're working on without having to share it. You move differently. You don't get distracted as easily. You don't get pulled into drama. You don't get thrown off by opinions because you know what you're doing. And you don't need outside noise to validate that. The truth is, most people who overshare are unsure. They're trying to talk their way into believing something they're not disciplined enough to live yet. Don't be one of those people. Be someone who moves in silence, who protects their growth like it matters. Because it does. You get stronger when you stop seeking attention. You get sharper when you stay focused on your path. Chapter 5. Focus on real actions and avoid fake attention. Focus on real actions and avoid fake attention. In today's world, it's easier than ever to look successful without actually being successful. It's easy to post something that gets a few likes and fool yourself into thinking you've made progress. It's easy to talk about goals, share a motivational quote, or take a picture in front of something expensive and call it growth. But real growth is quiet. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't need to be seen right away. And it definitely doesn't need fake attention. It needs real action. If your life looks good on the outside, but your habits are broken on the inside, you're not winning. You're performing. And performers don't last. They burn out, they break down, and they fall behind. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. Are you actually doing the work? Or are you more focused on making it look like you're doing the work? Because the difference between those two is the difference between a strong future and a wasted one. You can't fake discipline. You can't fake effort. You can't fake results. You either put in the work or you don't. And if you're chasing attention more than you're chasing improvement, you're walking down the wrong path. Real actions are built in silence. They're built when no one's watching. When it's early in the morning and your body's tired but you get up anyway. When it's late at night and your mind is racing but you stick to your schedule. When you feel like giving up but you choose discipline instead. That's what builds confidence. Not attention. Not praise. Not applause. Just action. Just quiet, focused, consistent action. There's a cost to chasing attention. It eats your time. It ruins your focus. It keeps you stuck in the cycle of doing things for others instead of doing things for yourself. Every time you stop working to take a photo of your work, you've lost momentum. Every time you do something just to get noticed, you've stepped away from what really matters. And over time, all those little decisions, those distractions add up. They steal your energy. They weaken your purpose. You have to choose what kind of life you want. One built on truth, or one built on image. If you want a real life, It's going to require patience, because real results take time. They don't happen overnight. They don't go viral. They build slowly, day by day, and you might not get noticed for a long time. But that's the point. If you're in it for attention, you won't last. But if you're in it for transformation, you won't need the spotlight. Your life will become the reward. Too many people are addicted to being seen. But being seen and being successful are not the same. One is about perception. The other is about truth. And truth doesn't need approval. It doesn't need likes. It doesn't need to be shared. It just is. It lives in how you show up. It lives in how you move. It lives in how you treat your time, your health, your mind, and your work. Ask yourself what matters more, looking like you're getting better or actually getting better, talking about progress or experiencing it in real time, getting compliments or building a future that doesn't fall apart when the compliments stop, because fake attention won't last. The crowd will move on. The likes will fade. But what you build in silence, with discipline, with purpose, that stays with you. Stop waiting for someone to notice your effort. Stop checking for reactions every time you take a step. If it's real, it doesn't need to be announced. Just do the work. Put your head down and move forward. Let your actions do the speaking. Let your life reflect the hours you've invested. Because at the end of the day, real effort always shows. Maybe not right away, but eventually it becomes too obvious to ignore. There's strength in staying unseen for a while. It teaches you patience. It builds your character. It separates you from those who are only in it for validation. And that's where the real power is. When you're no longer performing for anyone. When the only approval you care about is the one you give yourself. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to impress strangers. You don't need to explain your grind. You just need to stay consistent. You just need to keep showing up when it's hard. Keep improving when no one claps. Keep learning when no one's watching. That's where confidence comes from. That's where real self-respect is built. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Don't waste your energy trying to be seen. Use your energy to build something strong. Something that works even when nobody's watching. Something that lasts. Because one day your results will speak for you. And when they do, people will ask how you did it. And you won't need to say much. You'll just keep doing what you've been doing all along. Make a decision today to stop chasing fake attention. Start chasing real improvement. Track your habits. Master your schedule. Hold yourself accountable. Push yourself further than yesterday. Not for recognition, but for growth. Not for applause, but for self-respect. Because that's what stays with you when everything else fades. Fake attention is loud and shallow. Real progress is quiet and deep. Chapter 6. Say less every day and watch your mind grow. Not because silence is magical, but because silence gives you the room to think. It gives you time to observe. It helps you slow down and understand what's really happening inside and around you. In a world where everyone is quick to speak, quick to react, and quick to interrupt, the person who learns to hold back, to pause, to stay quiet, gains a massive advantage. Most people speak before they think. They rush to respond. They rush to give opinions. And in doing so, they miss the chance to understand. They miss the moment to reflect. But when you start saying less, you begin to see more. You notice how your mind becomes clearer. You notice how you gain control over your emotions. You begin to think before you speak. And that's where growth begins, not in the noise, but in the stillness. A busy mouth leads to a distracted mind. When you speak constantly, you leave no room for learning. You're always expressing, but rarely absorbing. You're focused on being heard instead of being aware. And when awareness fades, so does wisdom. But the one who learns to speak less, learns to observe more. The more you observe, the more you understand patterns, behavior, choices, both in yourself and others. You start seeing what others miss. You pick up on what's not being said. You start thinking with depth, instead of reacting with speed. Saying less also teaches you control. Not everyone needs to hear what you're thinking. Not every moment needs your voice. Not every situation needs your opinion. When you pull back your words, you start gaining power. You realize that silence doesn't mean weakness. It means discipline. It means you're choosing to respond with intention rather than impulse. It means you don't feel the need to prove anything. You're secure enough to let your thoughts settle before you release them. And that kind of control creates respect from others, but more importantly, from yourself. Growth happens in silence. Not because you're hiding, but because you're listening. You're listening to your thoughts. You're paying attention to your triggers. You're noticing your habits. You're seeing what drives you and what distracts you. You don't need to announce everything you're feeling. You don't need to share every thought that comes to mind. When you hold back, you're training your mind to sort what matters from what doesn't. And that's how you become smarter. That's how you become wiser. You begin to speak only when your words add value, not when your emotions demand attention. You don't need to dominate conversations to be respected. In fact, the most respected people are often the ones who speak the least but say the most when they do. Their words carry weight because they're not thrown around carelessly. They've been processed, thought through, refined. You want your words to mean something. Then say fewer of them. Put quality over quantity. Speak only when it improves the moment, not just to fill the silence. Most people are uncomfortable with quiet. They think if they're not talking, they're not contributing. But the truth is, constant talking usually covers up discomfort. People talk when they're nervous. They talk when they're unsure. They talk to avoid facing what's really going on inside. But silence forces you to face yourself. It reveals what you've been ignoring. It shows you what you need to fix. And when you get comfortable being quiet, you get comfortable being honest with yourself first. Your mind starts to grow when it has space. When you're not filling every moment with noise. When you're not reacting to every little thing. When you're not trying to be heard all the time. In that space, you gain insight. You think clearly. You begin to realize how many of your past problems were created by saying too much, too fast, to the wrong people. You see how many opportunities were missed because you were talking instead of listening. And once you realize that, you start using silence as a tool for learning, for growth, for strength. Say less, and your presence grows stronger. When you stop giving out so many pieces of yourself through constant talking, you hold your power. You become more intentional with your words. You don't just speak to be heard, you speak to impact. And that's a different level of maturity. That's when people start to listen more closely when you speak, because they know you don't waste words. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to explain yourself every time someone disagrees. Sometimes the strongest move is to stay silent and let your results speak. Let your energy speak. Let your consistency speak. That kind of silence is louder than any argument. This kind of growth is not easy. It takes effort to stay quiet when you feel like reacting. It takes strength to sit with your emotions instead of throwing them out at the world. But every time you do it, you get better. Every time you pause before you speak, you build discipline. Every time you choose to listen instead of interrupting, you get smarter. And that growth stacks up. Over weeks, over months, over years, until you become a different person. Someone who speaks with wisdom, someone who moves with clarity, someone who thinks before acting. That's what saying less gives you. That's what silence builds. Look around. Most people are addicted to being heard. They chase attention through constant expression. But attention isn't growth. Noise isn't wisdom. Volume doesn't equal value. You don't become better by being louder. You become better by becoming sharper. And you sharpen your mind by giving it space to think, by letting silence work on you, by choosing quiet moments over constant output. Start small. Pay attention to how often you speak just to fill the gap. Catch yourself when you're about to respond without thinking. Hold back when you want to prove something. Let silence lead. Let your presence speak. And then notice the shift. Notice how your thoughts get clearer. Notice how your emotions settle. Notice how your focus improves. That's your mind growing. That's your awareness expanding. You're not missing out by saying less. You're gaining strength. You're becoming more intentional. You're learning how to move with purpose, not reaction. And that shift changes everything. How you work, how you relate, how you lead, how you live. When your mind is calm, your decisions get better. When your words are measured, your influence grows. Chapter 7. Walk away from noise and build real discipline. That's one of the most important decisions you'll ever make for your personal growth. Noise is everywhere. It comes from people, from distractions, from your phone, from conversations that don't matter, from opinions that don't help, and from environments that keep you stuck. If you don't walk away from it, you'll stay confused. You'll stay tired. You'll keep starting things and never finishing. You'll always feel like you're behind. And it won't be because you're not capable. It'll be because your attention was never yours. It was stolen by noise that didn't deserve your time. Real discipline doesn't grow in chaos. It grows in structure. It grows in silence. It grows when you remove yourself from things that pull you away from your responsibilities. You can't focus if your life is filled with loud, pointless distractions. You can't build anything strong if you're always reacting to the world around you. You can't create peace if you keep surrounding yourself with people who don't value self-control. Discipline is something you develop when you remove what weakens it. Noise is anything that stops you from doing what matters. Sometimes it's a person who always has something negative to say. Sometimes it's endless scrolling. Sometimes it's loud environments that don't give you space to think. Sometimes it's internal, the mental clutter, the fear, the guilt, the excuses you keep repeating to avoid doing the work. And the longer you tolerate it, the harder it becomes to focus. Because what you allow becomes your standard. If you live in noise, you will think in noise. And if you think in noise, you will act in confusion. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's not about controlling everything. It's about making decisions that protect your focus. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing what you expose your mind to, because everything you consume affects your choices. What you watch, who you listen to, what you talk about, what you tolerate, it all becomes part of you. And if you don't control it, it will control you. You have to walk away from noise because your future depends on your ability to stay focused. It depends on your ability to do the hard things when no one's watching. It depends on your commitment to routines that most people don't understand. And you can't commit to those things if you're surrounded by distractions that pull you in every direction. You have to build a life that helps you grow, not one that keeps you stuck. The truth is, most people are addicted to noise. They need it. It helps them avoid thinking. It helps them avoid responsibility. They need constant entertainment because the silence makes them uncomfortable. But growth begins in that silence. Growth begins when you remove the noise and face yourself. When you finally sit down with your own thoughts and say, "It's time to change." That's when discipline starts to take root. Walking away doesn't mean you're quitting. It means you're choosing to protect your mind. It means you're done wasting energy on what doesn't move you forward. It means you're ready to build a life that's grounded, strong, and meaningful. You don't have to explain your decision to anyone. You don't have to make a big announcement. Just walk, quietly, with intention, with clarity, and don't look back. The more you walk away from noise, the more you'll notice how much of it was draining you. You'll feel your thoughts becoming clearer. You'll feel your energy returning. You'll notice how much time you actually have when you're not being pulled in 100 directions. And that time, that space, that clarity, that's where discipline lives. That's where it grows. That's where you start showing up differently. Not because someone told you to, but because you finally created a space where you can be consistent. Start by paying attention to your environment. Who are the people around you? Are they helping you build structure, or are they feeding the chaos? What are the habits in your life that keep you stuck in the same place? What needs to go so that your mind can breathe? Don't be afraid to be alone for a while. Don't be afraid to cut back on things that don't serve your long-term vision. Discipline often grows in solitude. It's not always fun, but it's powerful. Discipline is built in the boring moments. It's built when you say no to things that look fun but don't help. It's built when you stay on task while everyone else is distracted. It's built when you choose sleep over scrolling, learning over gossip, planning over procrastinating. And those decisions, they're easier to make when your life is quiet, when it's organized, when you're not constantly reacting to noise that doesn't matter. You have to want your future more than you want to stay comfortable, because comfort is often noisy. Comfort is loud routines filled with distractions and short-term pleasure. But discipline is built through discomfort, through doing the things that help you grow, even when it's hard. And that process becomes clearer the moment you walk away from what interrupts it. When you step away from noise, you begin to hear your goals again. You begin to feel your purpose. You become more honest about what you've been avoiding. You stop pretending that distractions are harmless. You realize they've been costing you days, weeks, years. And once you see that, you can't go back to living the same way. You start choosing differently. You start protecting your time like it matters. Because it does. You don't need anyone's permission to protect your mind. You don't need approval to say no to noise. You just need the decision. The moment you decide that discipline matters more than distractions, your life will start to change. You'll begin to show up with more strength. You'll start moving with more clarity. You'll feel more in control, not because everything is perfect, but because you stopped letting everything pull you off track. This is your time to build something better, not through talk, not through noise, but through action, through structure, through discipline. Walk away from anything that weakens your focus. Say no to the habits that waste your time. Distance yourself from the people who don't respect your growth. Create space in your life to think, to move, to build, and then use that space to become the kind of person who doesn't just talk about change, but lives it, quietly and consistently. That's how you build real strength. That's how you create real discipline. And that's how you build a life you don't need to escape from. Chapter 8. Make your silence louder than their loud lifestyle. In a world where everyone seems to be chasing attention, showing off their life, and making noise about things that don't even matter. The most powerful move you can make is to stay quiet and let your results speak. Let your focus speak. Let your improvement speak. Let your energy speak without ever needing to explain it. Because while some are busy broadcasting a version of success, others are quietly building the real thing, and when it's real, you don't need to advertise it. You don't need loud words when you have strong habits. You don't need to show everything when your life is grounded. You don't need to compete with noise. You need to master your time, sharpen your thinking, and protect your progress. The ones who shout the most often do the least. They're looking for validation because they haven't built enough consistency to trust themselves. They need people to clap for their intentions because they haven't followed through long enough to create results. But if you want to build something that lasts, you need to detach from that game. There's something powerful about a person who's focused and unbothered. Someone who doesn't feel the need to keep up with trends or answer every opinion. Someone who isn't interested in looking successful. They're interested in becoming disciplined. They're not worried about being seen. They're working on being better. That person stands out, not because they're loud, but because they're rare. If you want to live a life that feels strong on the inside, you need to quiet the noise. You need to stop trying to match the energy of people who are chasing temporary things. Not everyone showing off is doing well. Not everyone talking loudly is confident. Sometimes the loudest people are hiding the most insecurity, and when you see that clearly, you stop comparing. You stop competing with people who aren't even living the life they pretend to have. Your silence becomes powerful when it's backed by real movement. When you're taking steps daily to get better, when you're putting effort into your habits, when you're growing mentally and emotionally, your presence starts to change. People feel it. You don't need to prove anything, because what you've built shows. That's the kind of strength that doesn't fade. It doesn't depend on attention. It doesn't need permission. You don't get ahead by being louder. You get ahead by being more consistent. By doing the things that most people avoid. By skipping the shortcuts and choosing the daily effort. That effort may not get applause today, but it pays off in the long run. While others are busy chasing likes, you're building discipline. While they're spending energy being seen, you're spending energy becoming better. Real peace comes when you stop performing and start living for what matters to you. You begin to notice that the people who are truly doing well don't need to speak about it. They're calm, they're centered. They don't broadcast their moves. They don't need to post every win. Because their life is built on more than image. It's built on intention. You can feel it in the way they move, in the way they work, in the way they show up even when no one's watching. Your silence should be filled with purpose. It should be filled with learning, with effort, with structure. Use your quiet time to grow, to improve your health, to study, to work on your mind, to build new routines. While others are shouting about what they're going to do, be the one who's already doing it. Let them talk. Let them flex. Let them show off. You just keep building, keep moving forward. At first you may feel like you're behind, like you're not being noticed, like your hard work is invisible, but that's how real change feels in the beginning. It happens underneath the surface. It's not meant to be flashy. It's meant to build a foundation, and when the foundation is strong, the results will come. Slowly at first, then all at once. And when that happens, the people who used to overlook you will wonder how you did it. And you won't need to say a word, because your actions already answered the question. This is about creating something solid, not something for show, not something that fades when people stop clapping, but something you can carry with you. Habits that keep you focused, routines that give you structure, thoughts that keep you sharp, and all of it happens in silence. While the world is loud, you stay grounded. While they shout, you train. While they distract themselves, you discipline yourself. Never feel like you're falling behind just because you're not being loud. Most of the real growth happens in silence. Most of the wins that matter are internal. You know you're changing when your thoughts shift, when your choices improve, when your mood doesn't depend on outside praise. That's growth. That's what leads to success that lasts. Let your silence be filled with things that build you. Use it to create real value in your life. Value that isn't dependent on what others see or think. The more you invest in your quiet work, the stronger you become. The more you practice being present instead of being loud, the more confident you get. Because confidence doesn't come from talking. It comes from proving to yourself that you can stay focused when it matters. Stay consistent. Stay steady. Stay quiet. Let others waste time chasing fake moments. You use your time to master real habits. You use your time to build something you don't need to talk about. Your life will speak loud enough when it's built with effort. Keep showing up. Keep putting in the work. You don't need the spotlight. You need results. And they'll come. Not through noise but through discipline. Not through image but through action. Not through performance but through purpose. Keep your silence. Let it speak for you. Let it be louder than all their noise. Chapter 9. Wake up early and plan your life quietly. That's how you take control back. That's how you start shifting your life from reaction to intention. Most people wake up late, scramble through the day, and then wonder why nothing changes. They never sit down to look at their life. They never create space to think. They're always running, always behind, always distracted. But if you start your day before the world wakes up, you give yourself an edge. You begin the day with purpose instead of pressure. You create time that belongs only to you, and that time becomes the foundation for your discipline. Early mornings are not about being part of a trend. They're about building mental strength before the noise begins. In the morning, your mind is clear. There are no messages, no calls, no outside demands. It's the one time you can sit with your own thoughts and decide how your day will go instead of letting circumstances dictate it for you. That's when the planning happens. That's when you get honest with yourself about what needs to change, what needs to be done, and what needs to be removed. Quiet planning is a lost habit. People talk a lot about goals, but rarely take the time to break them down. They say they want more out of life, but live without structure. When you wake up early and plan in silence, you begin to notice what matters. You see clearly what's holding you back. You stop lying to yourself about how you use your time. You realize that discipline isn't just about willpower, it's about knowing what your next step is. That's what a plan gives you. It gives you clarity, and clarity turns into consistent action. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you do need a system. You need a written plan, not in your head, on paper, on a whiteboard, in a journal. Something you see every morning when you start your day. Something that reminds you what you're working toward and how you're going to get there. If you don't have that, you'll drift. You'll fall into other people's priorities. You'll get pulled into distractions. You'll stay busy without being productive. There's something powerful about planning quietly. When no one knows what you're building, you don't feel the pressure to prove anything. You work with freedom. You grow in silence. You're not performing for anyone. You're just showing up for yourself. That's when it starts to feel different. That's when the motivation becomes real. Not because someone's watching, but because you've created a rhythm that works for you. Waking up early isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. You build toughness when you choose to start before the excuses begin. You feel stronger because you're leading your day instead of being led by it. That one small shift, getting up with purpose, can change how you approach everything. You eat better because you're not rushed. You work smarter because your mind is calm. You stop tolerating things that waste your time because you've started valuing your time. The discipline of a quiet morning teaches you to move with intent. No one sees the early hours. No one claps when you wake up at 5. But that's the point. It's your moment, your decision, your practice. That's where strength is built, in the parts of your life no one ever sees. That's where you start becoming someone who doesn't just talk about goals but builds a life around them. Most people avoid silence because it forces them to face the truth. When the noise is gone, what's left? Just you and your thoughts. Just you and your habits. Just you and your choices. But that's where the transformation begins. When you stop avoiding yourself and start working with yourself. When you write your plans with full honesty and no performance. That's when you begin to grow with direction. Your morning should belong to you. Before the world demands anything from you, you should have already done something for yourself. A walk, a workout, a journal entry, a quiet moment with your goals. These things don't just improve your mindset, they reshape your identity. You stop feeling like a victim of time. You stop saying, "I didn't have time." You realize that you have time. You were just giving it to the wrong things. Planning your life quietly also protects your energy. You're not wasting it, talking about your goals. You're not seeking approval. You're not comparing your path to others. You're simply creating your system and following it. You're choosing routines that align with your vision. And when you do that consistently, day after day, your life starts to reflect your effort. Slowly, quietly, but undeniably. You don't need motivation every day. You need structure. You need a reason to wake up early. A vision that pulls you forward. A plan that simplifies your steps. The more clear your plan is, the less pressure you feel. You stop relying on feelings and start relying on your schedule. That's how professionals move. They don't leave it to chance. They wake up early, review their plan, and execute. Don't worry about what others are doing. Don't compare their pace to yours. Focus on your mornings. Focus on your routine. Focus on mastering your hours. It's not about how busy you are. It's about how intentional you are. What you plan is what you prioritize. And what you prioritize is what shapes your future. Give yourself a time every morning that is non-negotiable. Even if it's just 30 minutes. Use that time to write, to think, to prepare. Plan your meals. Review your habits. Look at your goals. Ask yourself where you're winning and where you're slipping. This isn't about pressure. It's about clarity. When you see clearly, you choose better. And when you choose better, your entire life shifts. The power of waking up early and planning in silence is that you take back control. You stop drifting. You stop reacting. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. Instead, you wake up each day and shape it. You decide what gets your energy. You decide what gets your energy. You decide what you build, and that one decision, repeated every day, is what separates those who succeed from those who only wish they could. Build this habit not for others, but for yourself. You deserve a life that feels aligned. You deserve a day that starts with peace, not panic. You deserve to move with clarity, not confusion. And that begins the moment you decide to stop leaving your life to chance. Wake up early, plan quietly, and use those hours to create something solid, something that reflects who you really are, not just what the world expects to see. Chapter 10. Let your peace lead and your voice rest. That one shift can completely change how you move through life. You don't always have to speak. You don't always have to explain. You don't have to convince anyone of anything. When you build peace inside yourself, you stop chasing reactions. You stop fighting for validation. You stop wasting energy in places that don't deserve your time. The real power is in staying calm when others are loud. It's in choosing stillness when chaos tries to pull you in. Peace is not a weakness. It's a strength most people never learn to build because they're too busy reacting, performing, and defending. But when you let peace take the lead, you begin to feel the difference. You respond differently. You think more clearly. You protect your energy without needing to raise your voice. You don't grow by always talking. You grow by observing, by listening, by staying connected to your values, even when others try to push your buttons. A peaceful mind makes better decisions. It doesn't rush. It doesn't need revenge. It doesn't seek control. It simply knows when to act and when to stay still. And when your life is led by peace, you begin to move with confidence that doesn't need attention. You don't need to speak about everything you know. You don't need to defend every choice. You don't need to respond to every opinion. You know what's real. You know what matters. And that's enough. Letting your voice rest doesn't mean you stay silent out of fear. It means you've learned not every moment needs your words. It means you trust your energy more than your volume. You walk into a room and don't feel the need to prove anything. You're not performing. You're not trying to be liked. You're not chasing approval. You're standing strong in your presence, and that presence was built through practice, through learning when to speak and when to save your words. A person who is grounded in peace is not easily shaken. They don't get pulled into arguments just to win. They don't let noise distract them from their goals. They don't give away their power by reacting to everything around them. They choose silence when silence is powerful. They choose patience when it protects their growth. They know that some battles are not worth fighting, and some conversations are not worth starting. They don't shrink. They choose wisely. And that's the difference. When you make peace your foundation, you learn to lead yourself. You stop needing the world to be quiet, so you can feel calm. You stop needing people to agree with you so you can stay strong. Your strength is not dependent on what happens outside. It's built from what you protect inside. That means taking care of your mental state. That means walking away from drama. That means choosing peace, even when your ego wants to fight back. That means pausing when you feel like snapping. That means listening before you speak. And over time you become someone who is deeply respected, not because you're loud, but because your presence says everything your words don't need to. It's easy to speak when you're angry. It's easy to react when you feel attacked, but that's not power. That's impulse. Power is choosing not to let someone's chaos enter your space. Power is sitting with discomfort and not letting it take control of your behavior. Power is being able to walk away from things that once triggered you and knowing that peace is more valuable than being right. You don't have to participate in every conflict. You don't have to respond to every misunderstanding. When you lead with peace, you stay connected to what you're really trying to build: a better life, a better mind, a better future. You grow when you stop using your voice as a weapon and start using your peace as protection. You grow when you understand that not everything deserves your attention. You grow when you realize that maturity is staying calm in situations that used to control you. You can still stand your ground. You can still live with confidence. But you do it without tension. You do it without force. You lead by example, not by pressure. You let people watch your discipline, your calm, your focus, and in doing so you inspire more than words ever could. Letting your voice rest also means letting go of the need to control how others see you. You're not here to manage their opinions. You're here to build your life. Your voice doesn't always have to defend your choices. Your results will do that. Your peace will do that. Your consistency will do that. You don't have to explain why you're doing something differently. Just keep doing it. And the people who truly respect you won't need an explanation. They'll see it in how you live. Quiet strength is not for everyone. It takes patience. It takes reflection. It takes discipline. But it brings clarity. It brings balance. It brings a kind of happiness that doesn't depend on outside approval. You wake up and you're not chasing anything. You're not trying to keep up. You're not stuck in comparison. You're focused. You're grounded. And because of that you move with calm purpose instead of scattered energy. Let your peace lead when life gets messy. When people doubt you. When someone misunderstands you. When situations test your patience. Don't give in to the urge to shout your worth. Don't fall into the trap of loud reactions. Just stay aligned. Stay centered, and let time reveal everything. Your life will speak. Your consistency will speak. And the best part is, you won't need to say a word. This isn't about being passive. It's about being powerful in a way most people don't understand. Anyone can react. Anyone can talk. But it takes true growth to stay composed. It takes real strength to stay focused when everything around you is asking for your attention. And when you live like that, when you let your peace lead and your voice rest, you become unshakable. You stop living on edge. You stop draining yourself trying to be understood. You rise above noise. You rise above confusion. You walk your own path, and that's where freedom lives. Your life doesn't need to be loud to be meaningful. It needs to be honest. It needs to be stable. It needs to reflect your growth. That's how you build something that lasts, not through noise but through calm, quiet, powerful action. Wake up each day and protect that peace. Stay grounded when things try to pull you off balance. Speak only when it brings value, and spend more time living than explaining. Let your peace be your guide. Let your silence be your strength. Let your actions speak in ways your words never could. You don't need to shout. You don't need to fight. You just need to stay true, stay focused, and let your quiet power do the work. That's how you build a life that doesn't just look good, but feels right every single day.